What's going on, fam? We're back. See, here's the thing. Here in the city of Detroit, we are in a political season where we are looking to elect the next mayor. So what we're doing, because you all know that we all about keeping it real, we're all about politics and engaging, just the whole gamut. We have invited several candidates who are running for the office of mayor to our podcast. And today we have the pleasure of having one of those candidates. We've got Mr. Joel Haashiim. And Mr. Haashiim is going to spend a few minutes introducing himself and just giving us a snapshot of his vision for the city of Detroit should he be elected the next mayor. So again, thank you, Mr. Haashiim, for being here. We appreciate you. And I'm going to turn the mic over to you and, give you a few minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate the opportunity to be heard. I am a legendary Detroiter, graduated Cooley High in '69.
Congratulations.
Had some, while I was in high school, had an opportunity to go to Sinai School for OR Tech before I left high school. And they called it Shapiro Nursing School. From there, I tried to do a little college. Thought I was going to be an NBA ball player. But then at 20 years old, I started my first business, Brothers Party Store on Hartwell and West 7 Mile.
Know the area.
From there, I opened up 2 more locations. A couple years down the road, I sold the store business and went into wholesaling. Started wholesaling to the party stores and record shops in the city of Detroit. From there, I went into wholesale distribution, met a purchasing agent from Spartans. He shared with me, come to his office. That opened up me selling the Kmarts, Montgomery Wards, Winn-Dixie's, Pick and Saves, Pier 1, etc. That started me going around the world looking for products to put on the shelves of those retailers. So from there, I went into MCX Energy, partnered in Atlanta, Georgia, energy company. Green Energy right here in Detroit, environmental company. At that point, I started a trucking company, semis, had about 18 semis. My son took that business over and he's still running it today. Then we went into building concepts, which is, I've been around in maybe 8 different countries to sell those building concepts. I'll explain what that is later. And then we did 15 trade delegations / business delegations. We took the largest one out of Michigan, 34 corporations, GM, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Comerica Bank, etc. We took them to the Middle East, opened up that venue where they're now doing, many of those companies are doing business in the Middle East. And so that is a short overview of who Joel Haashiim is. My vision for the city of Detroit is I want to make Detroit the international city that it should be. Detroit is an international city with no international companies. Atlanta, Georgia has 1,500 international companies. That's why they have a diverse economy. I want to build a diverse economy for Detroiters. We have so many issues, but we must have a diversified economy. We need to make Detroit a smart city. I want to build a coordinary economy, which focuses on bringing in tech and all of those current technical aspects, from 3D printing to engineering concepts for building to computer chip manufacturing, etc. Want a modern transit system starting from Ann Arbor through the airport into downtown Detroit. finish the Q line, the 8 Mile, and then begin to integrate mass transit into the city of Detroit, working with the regions as best we can. However, understanding that Detroit must not be waiting for anything or anyone. We need open minded leaders who are strong, courageous, will stand up against the corporations and the rich. Last but not least, I want to bring in a new industry in the city of Detroit. That industry would be housing. By me being 23 years in the business, understanding how to build quality homes and buildings at reduced costs, not compromising the quality. So what that means is we've got approximately $30 to $35 billion potential real estate development here in the city of Detroit. The land bank has 100,000. I want Detroiters to be able to own a part of this factory. Detroit need to own it. Why? The corporations and the rich are hoping we stay asleep and allow them to continue to get richer at the expense of our community. Detroiters need to do what we see all over the world now, in Africa, the Caribbean. People want to be free. People want to utilize their assets for them. My first 30 days, first day, signing executive orders to take back Detroit City assets. Our water department, which makes $1 billion a year, they only give Detroit $50 million. I've already had a team of attorneys take a look at breaking those leases. We'll go to the Supreme Court, but in the meantime, we need to take back all of Detroit City assets because $900 million sound pretty good to me now for Detroiters in Detroiters' pocket. They took our water department under false pretense, manufactured bankruptcy, and now the people need to have a fighter who's going to stand up, put our law department to work, and take back Detroit City assets, Belle Isle, the zoo, etc. We have an empowerment platform. We want to empower the people. We want to bring back community district councils, give them the power. We want to commit police commissioners to be able to operate independently. Okay? We want to make sure that we improve the quality of life and that we build a foundation for economic and political development in the city of Detroit for our children and our grandchildren. We also want to set up what we call smart zones / empowerment zones. We need those in several parts of the city so people can go downtown, don't have to go downtown, deal with the parking and all the issues that we have downtown, that they can go walk or possibly not drive far to a neighborhood city hall where they can take care of their city business. We also want many police stations in these areas so that we can also establish not just first responders, but also mental health in each one of these districts or safe zones. We want to make sure that we also push shopping there, supermarkets, and all the types of businesses that give us economic empowerment. A lot of people don't realize that economic empowerment is the fullness of that is money circulating in your community. So when you look at Black Wall Street, when you look at Paradise Valley and the Black Bottom, you saw a group of cluster businesses that were moved out. That's the concept that produces true economic empowerment, and I'm the only candidate that's expressing it that way.
Okay. One thing that I want to start off with, Mr. Haashiim, being a businessman, having run successful businesses, what we see now is on a federal level, we have a quote unquote businessman in the White House. Carl, I think you can agree that's not working too good.
Yeah, I don't.
So, how
Not
do
in my
you
view.
exactly, as a businessman, overcome the negative narrative that some people may see in terms of being a leader for the city of Detroit, because they're saying, okay, if this clown in the White House who says he's a businessman is running the country in the ground, why should we vote for Joel Haashiim? He's a businessman. He might do the same thing. So what's the difference between you and this clown
Well,
in the White House?
my focus is on economic empowerment for Detroit residents, making sure our children and grandchildren can focus on the 21st century and be competitive. So I'm about the people. Now, I called for a forensic audit. There are two other candidates that's now calling for business or forensic audit. However, the idea is we have hundreds of millions of dollars missing out of Detroit city budgets. Nobody's talking about it. It is the it is the office of mayor, city council, etc., to represent the people, to make sure the money is protected and well spent to serve the people. That hasn't happened in Detroit in so many years. And so basically, we call for an audit to cut out the fat out of our city budgets, make sure our city budgets run more efficiently so that we can improve the quality of life for the residents.
Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I remember you saying you would like to have that audit within the first 90 days of office.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that would be an all encompassing city audit. So all the departments then. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And
So
people say, "Oh, that's expensive and that's lengthy." Well, when it comes to money, we want it to be efficiently, and in the long run, we're saving money and we're better serving the community.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll ask this next question, then I'll throw it to Carl. But we, in preparation for this, have solicited questions from, Detroiters, and our family, friends, so on and so forth. But one of the things that I have seen that's been a consistent question is from the seniors. And they want to know, what senior programs, services will you bring to the table if elected as mayor of the city of Detroit?
Yes, sir. The first thing, I want to make sure our seniors are safe, feel comfortable, be able to walk the streets knowing that if anybody do anything wrong, we're going to catch them. So I want to make sure we upgrade the police department in a way that they actually know how to interact with the community. I am, by the way, for residency.
Yes.
I think the community needs to trust the police officers. I think the police officers will be much better served as serving our community if they are friends with the community,
Yes.
and the community can trust them. Also, health care. We already went into motion to improve the Detroit City retirees' health plans, medical plans. We went and did about 3.5, 4 months of research, our team, and we formulated a plan, contacted CEOs and owners of insurance companies, and actually came up with a company that would give us a phenomenal plan. So this is something that we've already done for the Detroit City retirees. We found where some of them was due in their health care package money that they did not know they had. It was from $3,000 to $10,000 of health care benefits that they had that we brought to their attention through our research. We also negotiated with these insurance companies a group plan. So we will go in motion as mayor of the city of Detroit to attack our high insurance rates for cars and homes. And we'll also open this group plan up to Detroit residents so that we make sure everybody in the city of Detroit have a quality of life that that they can be happy about.
Okay. Carl.
Well, for those of us who are Detroiters, I think we've always felt that this is a special place. But there has been a lot of, I'd say, in the last 20 years or so, a lot of people who were downplaying Detroit, questioning its validity, particularly when it goes through a bankruptcy and all of that. But now, in the last few years, Detroit has become the hip, cool place to go again. which I said for those of us who are Detroiters, we've lived through it all, so we understand the ebbs and flows of what's happening. However, had a conversation with one of with a coworker who the company I work for is actually relocating from a suburban office to a downtown office, and they were saying, oh, it's great. I think it's great we're doing that so we can be part of rebuilding the city because it's just so run down. It's just, when I drive through Detroit, it's just run down, and I think it's good that we, are part of this. And I'm saying to myself, well, one, y- you're probably just you're going to a ball game or a concert because if you're coming from a suburban area, you're coming to Detroit, you're only taking a couple of routes. So I don't know exactly what you're seeing if you're going through Midtown, downtown. I don't, when you say it's run down, but it kind of triggered me because I'm saying, well, with this resurgence that I think that people are seeing, everybody's not seeing that resurgence. And a lot of things are really from, and we know the neighborhoods are all, and people that live in Detroit are always saying, like, there's more that can be done. So, and I know there was a long way to get to this question, but I think a lot of what has been shown in the resurgence so forth, Mayor Mike Duggan has been putting a face on the city. He's been a PR person for the city to show, the quote unquote comeback. So I do say that there are some successes that he's done. So my question is a two-part question. How do you plan on building on those successes? And then also, what are some missteps that he's taken that you would plan to correct?
Well, first of all, we can all agree, at least, that he has done a great job in downtown Detroit.
Mhm.
However, the flip side of that is at the expense of the people
Mhm.
in our community's gentrification. And nobody speaks about that enough. So what I would do is I wouldn't stop downtown development, but I would discontinue the downtown development court.
Mm.
Detroit is facing a $162 million deficit very soon. And we give them $200 million. And I don't think they're needed anymore. They've done a great job in what they do. But we're going to take that $200 million that comes from the city of Detroit and pay that $162 million so that we can start out on a level playing field.
Mhm.
Also, we will continue the downtown development, but this time the 30 and 35-year tax abatements that don't pay any taxes to our children and our libraries. The children are our future. And I don't know how we have managed to allow for corporations and the rich, the oligarchs, and our city council and those so-called leaders that represent us to take from our schools.
Mhm.
Detroit schools, I know you may have an educational question, but I just want to point out we're approximately 170th in the rankings in the country.
Mhm.
What people allow the corporations and the rich to get rich off of Detroit assets don't do anything to improve the quality of life and take from your children.
Mhm.
And you have these people who want to be mayor
Mhm.
and they have taken from our children. That hurts me, and that will not happen as mayor. So the long tax abatements, not helping to corporate America, we want good corporate citizens.
Mhm.
We have allowed people to come in our city, and people say, oh, well, what could you do? Well, all you needed was a leader who can think, who has knowledge and experience, common sense. Anytime you have land, water, and the ability to make cheap energy, you have prosperity.
It's a
That's
resource.
where wealth, the bottom line is we as a community, we should be raising our level of thinking, our consciousness level to understand that we're not poor, that we're rich. And now with this land in Detroit, People don't realize that's when I say we can produce 10,000 Detroit City resident jobs from $22.50 to $50 an hour, it's by setting up our own modular but on-site building quality homes. Then we'll introduce programs until we get our own public bank or municipal bank. We'll partner with banks to make sure that we can start literacy programs to move people into these homes. We also will introduce a 35 to 50-year mortgage based on age. So this will make young people, this will give them an opportunity to buy homes. We have allowed many young people to get caught up in this rent syndrome. They're paying very high rents. Many of them have to leave because they can't afford the rent and they can't get the career and the occupational wage jobs. So we need a leader who knows how to bring that vision in, because we understand without a vision, the people perish. And if you notice, we have lost over 450,000 people. They may not have disappeared, but they damn sure perished. They left this city.
And speaking of that too, Mr. Haashiim, I want to touch real quick. We have seen an increase in non-Hispanic white people moving back in to the city. Now, with that being said, I think currently the city of Detroit, we're sitting at about, 630,000 residents. I recently saw some numbers that showed from 2010 to 2022, I believe, we had an influx of approximately 5,000 to 6,000 white people coming in. Now, in terms of building a unified Detroit, for those of us that were born and raised in the city, there's a certain amount of Detroiters that feel like they've been forgotten, because it seems like more attention is being put on the non-Black, non-Latino folks that are coming back into the city.
Yes, sir.
So how do we, or how would you as mayor leverage that to unify those? Because there are a lot of people that feel like, look, this is my city. And you mentioned downtown and the resurgence. I have to be honest, probably about 10, 15 years ago, I went downtown. I got lost. I got stuck on one of them damn roundabouts.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
different.
This ain't what I remember from the 70s.
Right.
And just to kind of probably going with that too, and you kind of touched on it, repopulating the city.
Yes.
Because like you said, we lost 400,000 people.
Right.
So even with the people that have come back, you're saying 6,000. Okay. But I think the city, the way it is land-wise, the city of Detroit is one of the largest cities in the country in terms of land.
Yes, sir.
So we have a lot of potential for, back
growth
in
and
the 50s,
development.
it was 2.2 million people in the city back in the 50s.
When Coleman Young.
Yeah. So let's, what is kind of all of that kind of encompassing?
Well, it's all connected. I like to say, first of all, though, that when we look at the people coming in, they're welcome. There's no issue here. But clearly, not only have we been forgotten throughout the communities, but we have been disrespected. People don't realize, when we don't have a transit system to serve the people, not only did it disrespect the handicapped and special needs and seniors, but our school children. Some of them had to take the bus to school. And most of the time in the evening, they were out in the rain, snow, hot sun, waiting for a bus that's 2 hours late, then have to get home, do their chores, change clothes, whatever, homework, etc. So they disrespected our children. But when you're gentrifying a city, you don't need a good transit system.
They got cars.
Here again, I don't want to go too far off those questions, but I think it's very important for us to understand that gentrification is a system that started in England, brought to the United States by the government, yes, and the corporations. When the people were coming to the Commonwealth, because they were part of the Commonwealth now after colonialism, they were getting too powerful in London, the Africans, the Caribbeans, etc. So they brought in a team, studied it, and started gentrification in London to break the power, the economic power of predominantly South American, Caribbean, and African descent that was members of the common market. Then they brought it to America. Gentrification predominantly hits 99.9% Black American communities. Look at Hamtramck. Do you see gentrification? Look at Southwest Detroit, Mexican town. Do you see gentrification?
Dearborn.
Okay.
You damn sure don't see it in Dearborn.
So this misinformation, not understanding that when gentrification hit the Black bottom, it was a majority white population. It was a majority, overwhelming majority political apparatus. So all they had to do is use eminent domain and, hey, you got to move.
Right.
When a city is majority Black, it is your leaders that look like you that work with the political apparatus. That causes gentrification. So those people who look like us that are in leadership positions are working with the political apparatus, and that's how they damaged our community. Then the rich and the corporations come back in, buy up for pennies on the dollar, and make billions off the back of our community. As mayor, I will end gentrification. Unless you ask me how, I won't share it. But if you ask me how, I'll share it.
Well,
so
we're
that
gonna ask.
Everybody will know that I shared it.
We're here to learn.
So gentrification, I will dismantle the land bank. I will go to the state and the county to make sure that government never preys on our community again. We will end it. As mayor of the city of Detroit, I will end it. Are there any other candidates saying that?
Let's touch on the land bank since you brought that up. And I think that when you say dismantle the land bank, is it because it has been so difficult to navigate for citizens? Or
Well,
is
first,
it just...
if I can come here, let's let the audience know what the land bank is.
Well, okay. So the land bank, as I, and you can correct me if I go off track, it was established by the city in order to distribute plots of land, unused land, abandoned homes, and so forth, for purchase. And I'll say this in quotation marks, by the citizens of Detroit. And I can go back to, when it was first established. I know that I have some relatives who bought some plots of land. It wasn't too difficult to do at that time. And the prices were, good. And they were able to do that surrounding their properties so they can, kind of clean up the blight that was around their properties. But my understanding now is that it was a lot of outsiders have come, purchased the land that was earmarked for citizens. And then now it's also a very difficult, arduous process in order for citizens to...
A lot of bureaucratic red tape.
To purchase this land. So,
I just need to dive into
yeah,
this.
That's what I say. Go ahead.
There are a lot of programs that were set up for the city of Detroit for the residents that was compromised and exploited and turned against the residents. And so not only was the land bank one of those, but also these what they call obligation bonds, where the people voted for different things to happen with that bond, and then they switched them up. As a result, here again, something that no other Detroit candidate is speaking about, those obligation bonds are hitting our community for the next 60 years, 70 years. So when you talk about if your taxes are going to go up on your homes or not, and don't listen to me, go talk to the financial experts. They know about this, but nobody's talking about it. You know, everybody wants to say what they're going to do. I have a plan to make sure that we do not that is no longer going to be enforceable upon our community, because what they did was illegal. So many things has happened in the city of Detroit that I'm upset with the media, especially mainstream media. And here again, I think Detroit residents, a population of 75 to 80% Black people, need to be looking at Black media where we can get the truth about everything. Because in some cases, Black media have not did what they're supposed to do. But I think overwhelmingly, we as a community need to get back to identifying with our community businesses, etc. Just a little plug for Black media. But getting back to dismantling the land bank, it has preyed upon our community. They are very difficult to deal with. And their objective is to allow corporate and overseas buyers to abuse Detroit residents because they're buying the land or the homes. They're not doing anything with them. Nobody's coming down on them. As mayor, I'm going to stand up, and they're going to do right by our community. I'm standing for us.
What would be done in place of the land bank? What is your vision for that?
We will have since we want to set up a system where we are bringing in a new industry, which is housing, some $400 billion potential, the potential to put billions of dollars in our community. I'm not saying the corporations and the rich can't get some, but our community's got to have some. We must have inclusion at that level. Real estate development is a heavy subject. It's trillions of dollars in business in this country. And here in Detroit, we as a community get less than 1%, 1/4% of the real estate development. And we're talking billions of dollars. So this is going to help people who sell real estate in the city, residents. It's going to help resident real estate developers, builders, skilled trades, contractors that live in the city. Detroit residents first, not minority. And the city is going to set up programs to help make sure they're bonded, insured, to get the equipment they need, possibly the first phase of the project, to make sure that we can get the big contracts like everybody else. I'm the only candidate speaking like this today, but tomorrow there'll be others. Bottom line is, we need good common sense leadership that's brave and courageous and willing to stand up against the corporations and the rich for the people. Now, the other flip side of that, I know we're long-winded here, but I'll end it quickly. We have a plan to bring in the population. We have a plan to bring in the jobs because we want to diversify this economy. And I have the experience to do it, the knowledge to do it through 15 trade delegations / business delegations. That means bringing dollars into our community for our community.
Now, Mr. Haashiim, let me ask real quick. How do you leverage your business relationships in order to move the city of Detroit forward?
I have 54 years business experience.
Mhm.
Uh, and so when you have domestic and international business experience, at the age that I am now, all I want to do is lay the foundation. And I want to have 12 youth deputy mayors, 6 males, 6 females, be liaison into our communities amongst our youth. I want them to be able to actually sit at the table
Mhm.
and also at the same time make sure that our youth understand local politics. They need to understand that politics affects them whether they vote or not.
Mhm.
From A to Z, it affects our life in our community. So I want to prepare them because our school system is not teaching our children. We actually have graduates not only reading at an 8th grade level, but also not having a bit of understanding of how local politics operates and affects their lives.
Mm.
That's because we have given our education, turned it over to others who want to make sure that we're just a good tool, but not understanding this idea of people empowerment. We need to understand that we're all connected. If you're Black, you may have personal empowerment.
Mhm.
You may have a degree, a skill, or a business, but as a people, we'll get no respect until we empower ourselves as a people.
Right.
I saw in a previous interview that you did when you talked about the schools, just kind of touching on the schools and working with them. For people that are watching that may not know, the mayor's office does not have a direct control over Detroit Public School District or community district, whatever it's called now. I
Yes,
can't
sir.
remember. But in that, and I know you talked about that district as well as charter schools that are in the city of Detroit.
Yes, I did.
What is a plan for the mayor to work with those schools to increase those educational levels?
First of all, everybody's screaming for jobs, jobs, jobs. They want to be paid a livable and occupational wage. We want to bring people from the poverty into the middle class.
Mhm.
So a mayor who wants to build the community and bring in those resources, those jobs, those corporations, domestic and international, he must use his power, his will, the power of the might to set Detroit public schools, charter schools, private schools that's in Detroit. We need to prepare our children for the 21st century. So I'm going to be very vocal. And if they refuse to cooperate, we want our high schoolers to be integrated into city jobs. So we need to set up a program, Detroit City program. You can call it academy, whatever, where we prepare them to go into the police department, fire department, and all city jobs.
Mm.
Most of our high-paying city jobs don't live in the city. One more thing.
No,
Go ahead.
One more
'cause
thing.
you might answer this question. Go ahead.
Also for our returning citizens, also for adults that want to come into the city to work, we're going to extend that program to them as well to make sure that we're taking care and giving Detroit residents the opportunity first.
Earlier, you spoke about you were in favor of a residency requirement for police officers.
Yes,
Are you in favor of residency requirement for all city workers?
absolutely. And I'll even build a new house for them to come into the city and make sure they can get one of those 35, 40-year mortgages to make sure they can afford that home they want.
I'm glad that you brought up the youth deputy mayor. Okay. And I say that, Mr. Sheen, because one of my questions was, how do you engage the youth? And I'm guessing, and I'm gonna ask you, you coming up with the youth deputy program or position, does that have anything to do with the fact that you have, what, 18 grandchildren?
No, because it takes a village to raise a child, and you know, all of these children belong to us.
Yes, sir.
You know, I hear people say so often, "Oh, my child down in Atlanta, my child finished college." No, all these children belong to us.
Mhm.
And so once we understand, we need to think a little more out the box, a little more understanding that we're all connected, like it or not. You don't have to like me. You don't have to love me. Just understand the results that we will produce with common sense leadership.
And that's one of the things too, because in the generation that Carl and I came up, and our parents were on us, and they ingrained in us a certain element of respect and healthy fear, as we like to talk about from time to time. But now you don't see that, and I think one of the issues that I have is, as a parent, it's our job. We should feel obligated to educate our children. You mentioned the schooling. When we came through school, I can remember having econ. I can remember learning how to write a check. I can remember how to learning how to
Yes.
read the stock market. And it just blows my mind now that kids don't know what I would consider to be simple things like basic civics.
Yes.
Things of that nature. So I'm glad to hear you talk about, a plan for the youth, because we have to engage them. We can't, just sit back and say, well, I knew what to do.
Well, see, that's the big problem. Generation after generation, the elders have allowed this dysfunction to continue down through the descendancy.
Mhm.
And we don't want to admit that we dropped the ball. The elders.
Mhm.
I'm not speaking about you. I'm speaking about my age.
Yes, sir.
We have dropped the ball.
Mhm.
Our leaders have dropped the ball. Look at all these faith-based groups that are supposed to be doing something. Look at all the advocacy groups. Look at all the community groups that we have in this city. But yet we still have the same problems. What's wrong with that picture? We've got a lot of them. So we have to look at the reality. Where are we at? We've got to take responsibility, and that's why I'm running. I don't need a job. I love to be under a tree with some coconuts and, one hit the ground and pop it open and put my straw in there and drink some good electrolyte water. I love to be able to do it. But when I look in that mirror at myself, having 18 grandchildren and 9 children, and then looking at all the children, and so the children are saying, you can't tell me nothing, old man, old woman, but it's our fault collectively.
Mhm.
We all, there's enough blame to go around on this.
Yes.
I love to have fun, party, see people have fun. Cut down the partying. Check out what's happening. I cannot cheer. I love sports. You heard me share I wanted to be NBA ball player. I played against some of the great ball players that came out of Detroit, including Iceman. But the reality is, if our sports team is not paying any taxes, if they're not helping at least develop our children, giving them a few dollars for certain little programs during the summer, well, we appreciate that. But no, we need good corporate citizens, whether they're sports teams. It doesn't matter what type of corporation it is. And the city of Detroit is a corporation, people. It's a business. And the reason why they don't want a businessman like myself or Barlow to get in is because we know and understand how they manipulate and trick our community. These corporations that have 30 and 35-year tax abatements, Now, I hope I'm not going too far off track,
No,
but it's
no.
all connected.
Mhm.
They promise our community jobs, jobs, jobs. And this goes for Gilbert, the Illages, and everybody else. Then we end up with a few jobs and in the same condition we was in. Very few of our people benefit from downtown Detroit. Even though their tax dollars pay for the infrastructure and also loaned these projects. It's time for Detroit taxpayers to get something for their money and for their vote. They need to vote for Joel Haashiim.
All right.
You can't say nobody stood up to do the right thing for Detroit. And I'd like to add on to that. There's something going on in this city where the corporations and the rich have too much power. How so? Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder. Let's just take a look. Black people say, oh, they never come back. Well, they came back to put a theme park in our city.
They did.
To date, we don't have a theme park. Barton already owned casinos, but he couldn't get one. Who was saying yes? Who was saying no? Magic Johnson, he wanted to come in the city. He had 3 or 4 projects he wanted to do. Who said no? Our children don't see us doing very much because our people are being blocked. Bishop Bonner, he wanted a subdivision. I wanted to build my old neighborhood over in the Kettering area. They fought me. I had financing. I had the support to build that whole neighborhood up, all them empty lots. I could have infilled, meaning put the same type of design to keep the value of the houses that were there still standing. I was given the no. Pop Winans, he came to me. He complained about things he wanted to do. Blocked. Black woman wanted Cooley, my whole high school. She couldn't get it. Qualified to have it. That's how they're controlling our children now. They are watching others build and not their own people. So what you're doing is allowing our children to not see enough positive building by their own community. And people don't think about that. So I don't need a job. But before I leave this planet, I'm going to do the right thing for our community. We're going to sit at the table of prosperity like every other people.
I want to. Okay, go ahead, Carl.
I was going to say, I think that you hit upon a good point. We have, those of us in Detroit have seen a lot of projects promised that never came to fruition. And I'm going to, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying that there are powers and forces that are preventing these projects from happening because they have eyes for themselves to get better deals, so to speak.
Where would you and your children be if you didn't pay no taxes in 35 years?
So in that, and we'd be on the street, but in that, with your business acumen, is there some political smoozing that has to be done as well? And are you able to kind of navigate both worlds? So you want to still keep, and I'll just say this, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you want to keep a General Motors headquarters in the city, but you don't want to give away the store at the same time. How do you navigate those
Well,
things?
first and foremost, I heard the term by the mayor. He said, one Detroit for all of us. So why can't we all sit at the table of prosperity? You're practicing Reaganomics on the black community. We're waiting for something to filter down. But by the time it get down there, so many other people didn't gut they cut. It ain't but nothing but the crumbs off the table. We should be tired of getting the crumbs off the table of a city where we are the majority. Stop going in there asking for a minority contract set aside when you're the majority in the city, not no minority in the city. It's our thinking that needs to be corrected, how we look at things. Stop thinking we need for 4 black men to take 34 corporations over to the Middle East. You just had a governor from Michigan go to the UAE and sign a trade deal. You just seen the president of the United States come up out of there from Qatar to Saudi Arabia, etc. Why, if we were able to do that for the corporations, what makes you think I can't do that for our own community? So you say you don't know me, but at the same time, did you know Dennis Archer? Did you know Dave Bing? Did you know this current mayor? Because they sure enough didn't know you. They didn't know us. Our community is suffering, been beat down. As mayor, I want to bring back the culture. I want to bring back the true spirit of Detroit. I want to bring back that vibrant city that I grew up in, where when I became a wholesale distributor, I was able to make $15,000, $10,000 to $15,000 a week off of businesses, majority black businesses in this city. So I know what can happen.
Let me ask Mr. Haashiim, getting back to community, how important is it to have a true partnership with the community activism organizations that we currently have?
Yes.
Because what I see is, and I'm not calling out anybody, but we've got a fair number of community activist groups here in the city. But what I see, in my opinion, is just the gospel according to Eugene Mitchell Jr. They're more concerned with being celebrity as opposed to doing the work that needs to be done to help the community. Because when I think of the word community, I think of an amalgamation, people coming together, but I don't see that. So how, if you are elected as mayor of the city of Detroit, how do you bring, or how do you bridge that gap between the community activism groups and the mayor's office?
First and foremost, all community active groups that are actually improving the quality of life here in the city of Detroit, we have a $3 billion budget. And my plan for the city of Detroit is to bring in billions of dollars into our city treasury. That's what a diverse economy will do. Having our own industry in Detroit, we can put billions of dollars into our city treasury. So I will call in all of the advocate groups, all of the community groups, all of the faith-based, one table.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk. We need to eradicate these problems because on the other side of that is prosperity for everybody. So I want to, those groups that need a building, I want to relieve some of this financial pressure off of our real warriors for our community. So that the city partner with them, have a little something. You know, it was my idea initially when I ran as a write-off to bring in all the groups, and they brought it in under the Safety Act. You know, some people got contracts with the city, patrol the streets for safety. Well, that was my idea. Yes, I'm claiming it 100%. I can prove it.
Yes, sir.
It was on my first flyer. So yes, I'm in the back in the poles, the manufactured poles, but look, they stealing all they can from Brother Joel Haashiim. Okay? So bottom line is I will bring those groups in and make sure that we can help relieve some of the financial pressures so they don't have to do wrong, or they don't have to, you know, they can actually do what they're set up to do.
Yes, sir.
Improve our community, help our children, help our seniors, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what I'll do as mayor.
So with that, if you were not to meet your ultimate goal of being mayor of Detroit, Are you prepared to work with whatever administration is elected? And if so, how? If you were so asked
Yes,
to do
sir.
so.
Great question. If they're going to take orders from the corporations and the rich, we're going to get the same thing we've been getting for the last 50 years. You know, Coleman Young, Mayor Coleman Young, he wrote a book, and in the book, hard copy, right? Or hard, you know, but in the book, he said, look, they're going to take your water, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to do that. He spelled it out. He was a visionary.
Yes, sir.
He laid the foundation. He wanted mass transit. The regionals fought him. He was 21st century. He was ahead of his time in his thinking.
Mhm.
We have too many people, leaders and young people, who think old. They don't think innovative. They don't think tech.
Mhm.
This is our problem, getting stuck in time, being stagnant. Detroit is in a stagnant position as a community, while the corporations and the rich are futuristic building.
Mhm.
We need to be on the same level, and we'll do the same thing. I can work with the corporations. I didn't have a problem taking the corporations to the Middle East or China. I did 2 China delegations. I didn't have no problem doing that. What I was trying to do was show if I can do it for them, and I never knew I was going to run for mayor, but if I can do it for them, I can do it for us. So now I did it for them people. So the voters, you can vote for who you know,
Mhm.
who you like, who's pretty, who's young, or you can use some knowledge and some wisdom. Look at everybody's record, look at everybody's platform, and make an intelligent decision who you want for your mayor. So the tail end of that question is, if I'm working for the city of Detroit and the mayor is there, but the corporations are saying, no, we don't want that. Everything I just named about the people who wanted to do big things in our community that looked like us
Mhm.
wasn't able to do it. So I'm not going back up against another brick wall. The people have to wake up and say, we see a difference here. We are standing up for this, this, and that. And as I always say, if you're not talking about economic empowerment, educational empowerment, political empowerment, nothing else really matters that you're talking about, because everything, all of our problems, all of our issues come from a lack of these empowerments. And I don't know how else best to say it, because I know all these people who are big time leaders, but they refuse to get down and sit at a table to solve their community's problems. They're all doing their own thing.
Yes, sir.
They even out here that nobody's talking about how Detroit can control who the next governor is going to be.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
Every time a Republican governor has gotten to the city of Detroit, look at the statistics, look at the facts here. They've hurt Detroit.
Yes.
They've taken from Detroit. I don't know if we have enough time to go into it, maybe another time, but we need to lay it out.
Yes, sir.
So now we need about 85, 90% voter turnout. People say that's not real, but wake up our people, share the truth, understand people, young people, older people. You need to vote. This is the most important election for the city of Detroit
Yes.
since we've been here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Haashiim, we'll go ahead and wrap this up, but I couldn't tell you how much we appreciate you being here. You know, one thing that we always look for when we're talking to people, and especially in your position, we can feel the passion. And if you're a Detroiter, whether you were born here or raised here, we all love the city and we want to see what's best for the city. So, family, voters in the city of Detroit, you have a choice. You can go out, you can vote for who you like, as Mr. Haashiim has stated, or who's going to do the job. So, as always, we like to tell you guys, stay prayerful, stay positive, stay patient, stay peaceful. See you next time.